Good afternoon again to our friends from the media. Welcome to our third and last round of press conference for this two-day APEC event in Iloilo City. So for this round of press conference, we have two very special guests and speakers. One is our Suki, Finance Undersecretary Gil Beltran. He will give a brief overview of the two-day event and an overview of what's ahead. So what's next after this APEC Iloilo meeting. And of course, we have our second speaker, SEC Commissioner Manuel Gaite. He will talk about highlights of this morning's session, which delved more on the issue of capital market development, particularly one of the proposed initiatives under the Cebu Action Plan, which is the Asia Region Funds Passport, or ARFP. So it's a framework or an initiative to allow or how to regulate cross-border marketing of investment funds. And of course, again, as we discussed yesterday, the proposed initiatives to develop capital market is for the overall objective of boosting infrastructure development, such as through PPPs. So our two speakers will elaborate further on those issues. So we'll go first. Usec, Gil? Okay.
Okay. The APEC has excess capital. Savings still lack of infrastructure financing, which is the reason why we are trying to get the stakeholders to develop a program that will enable the region to expand the capital available for infrastructure. So that's, in a nutshell, that's is what this meeting is all about.
Okay, and so the meeting here in Iloilo marries or ties up the infrastructure agenda of the finance ministers. At the same time, the development of the capital market, raising funds on cross-border transactions. So, as Usec, there's a lot of savings in the region, but there is also a lack of capital for infrastructure development. So, the challenge for us and we in the finance sector, in the regulators, the securities commissions, in the APEC economies, in the last 4 years, we have been coming up with a framework, a platform for cross-border transactions of collective investment schemes. We are now at a stage where we are about to launch the passport funds. We just have one more working group meeting in Hanoi next month, but our target is to have the signing of the Statement of Understanding by the finance ministers during the finance ministers meeting in Cebu in September. And then thereafter, we will go on and sign the MMOU and the rules governing cross-border transactions of collective investment schemes. So hopefully, we are able to address both initiatives of the finance minister, the infrastructure development, and the financing of infrastructure development.
We are now opening the floor for questions. So again, for our friends from the media, just a reminder, if you want to ask questions, proceed to the mic and then please identify your name and the organization you represent. Who wants to ask the first question? Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Raymar from Iloilo Metropolitan Times. How do we encourage more ordinary households to participate in capital market investments?
Okay, collective investment schemes or mutual funds. These are the CIS are the mutual funds. Right now, we have fund managers, and they have structured certain instruments whereby ordinary household can buy into mutual funds. And so once these are gathered, collected, this can be invested in equities, in bond market, And now, especially for the infrastructure fund, they can be able to participate. The mutual funds are just like the GSIS. GSIS is a mutual fund. So this is a pooling of all resources. So that is how ordinary investors can participate in infrastructure development by pooling their resources to be managed by a fund manager.
And perhaps, Usec, you may share some government efforts on financial literacy, because I think his question is also related to improving the literacy of households on investments.
Yeah, actually, the regulators have been going around the country, especially the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, trying to educate our people on the merits of investing in financial instruments aside from deposits. Because as you know, deposits have very low interest rates, and there's short-term money. What we want is longer-term money, which is usually invested in mutual funds, invested in equities. You go to the stock market and invest, look for a company of your choice, and then invest there. There are opportunities like this where returns are much better, and it should be made known to everybody. In the case of the Bureau of the Treasury, sometimes when we issue small denomination treasury bonds, we go also around the country trying to explain to heads of households or savers that this is an opportunity for you to improve your rate of return. You can get more from investing in these types of instruments.
And may I add, he'll talk about information dissemination, especially on how to invest. We also do information sharing about where not to invest. Huh? Just the other day, we had that one dream thing. And, you know, despite the many advisories, almost every week we have a new advisory about calling the attention or asking investors to be beware of certain companies, even if they are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission as an ordinary corporation but do not have the secondary license to go into selling securities. They are not authorized. And we always respond, or we always tell them that once the offer is too good, it ain't true. Just today, I got a text from a colleague. He said, my yaya is asking me to advance some funds because there is this investment that will give her big returns. But
Fantastic returns.
I was telling her, that's not registered. Tell your yaya that is not true.
Yeah, before you invest in any instrument, that the entity that's handling the investment, that's where you put your money, is registered with the SEC, with Bangko Sentral, and the regulators. It's very important.
Yeah, and it can be registered as an ordinary corporation, but in order to sell investment securities, they need a secondary license because they have to disclose to us what their business is. They cannot say, our business is, if you invest here, we'll give you these big returns. Definitely, we will not allow that kind of business. So we take this opportunity again to remind especially our ordinary household OFWs that they should be careful in all of this investment that are promising very high yield returns.
Okay, so in a nutshell, the government's financial literacy campaign is two-pronged. Educating the public on the importance of investing, but on the other hand, of course, on educating the public on where to invest and where not to invest. Okay, who wants to ask the next question? Okay.
I am Ray Martis Copel of Panay News. Sir, is there an initiative or desire to develop capital markets in other areas since capital markets are focused mostly in Metro Manila?
Okay. Actually, what we're doing now is uh, we are putting the framework, the platform for cross-border transaction, the one that we discussed earlier in the conference. But once that platform or that cross-border transaction rules are in place, the investor can be anywhere, not necessarily in Metro Manila. It can be in the provinces. So the investment is not limited merely to Metro Manila.
This is another question. So they say that Iloilo has a lot of deposited money in the bank, sir. So what advice can you give to the Ilonggos in order for this deposited money to become an investment?
Actually, there are a lot of infrastructure projects being implemented by government. I don't know if many of these the implementers are listed in the stock exchange, but many of them are still in the process of setting up because we just started the process. Yung PPP natin, there are about 10 projects already being implemented. And some of these contractors or implementers are now selling bonds in the exchange. If you look at the list of projects and the implementers, you can see that some of them are already starting to list their bonds. Siguro later on there will be more information on this.
Any more questions?
Good afternoon. I'm Leonard Pineda from PIA for Usec, Beltran. Sir, we are working towards cross-border transactions for capital market. Is this first step towards setting up a one currency setup, which is similar to the European Union?
Not necessarily. As you can see, the experience of Europe with a single currency is not so inviting because there's no fiscal discipline on some of the participants in the monetary union. Because you can only have stability in a monetary union if the rules are clear and if the rules of fiscal discipline is followed. The experience so far of Europe is not so good. I don't think the ASEAN countries will jump quickly into that, into a monetary union at this point. They will still be looking at expanding their. What we are doing now is preparing for an eventual financial integration. But at this point, we are strengthening our markets, trying to enlarge the market, getting more participants in, and improving the rules and the framework so that there will be stability in the system. We want to protect our investors. We don't go quickly into schemes that might disrupt the whole system.
And just to add to that, there are no talks, right, Usec and in our APEC forums about having one currency for APEC.
Yeah.
The financial integration pillar of the Cebu Action Plan that is pushed by our finance ministries across the region is mainly to increase investments and trade across the region through better financial systems and connectivity.
Capital account liberalization is also one of the objectives of the Cebu Action Plan, but that's a long-term objective. So we are preparing for that. In the meantime, we are trying to strengthen our financial markets.
Ben.
Good afternoon, sirs. I'm Ben De Vera of Philippine Daily Inquirer. To Commissioner Gaite, it was mentioned last June by I think it was a press statement by APEC mentioning that the Asia Fund's passport will be rolled out by next year, and there would be initially six pilot countries. But when can we expect to include also the other? Because the name itself says Asia Region Funds Passport. So how about for the other member economies on the other side of the Pacific? And are there any regulatory issues that should be ironed out before we can implement this throughout the region, and when can we implement?
Okay, the timetable is we will have our signing of the Statement of Understanding in September this year as a sideline of the finance ministers meeting. And then towards the end of this quarter, the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding governing cross-border transactions. Right now, the countries that have indicated that they are ready to join are Australia, New Zealand, Singapore,
Korea yata.
Korea, and then I heard in this meeting that Japan is interested in joining.
Of course, the Philippines also.
The Philippines is interested in joining, but we still have to hurdle some
Preparing for it.
eligibility issues.
Whoa, what is that?
Meaning, we are not yet signatory to IOSCO Appendix A. IOSCO is the organization of International Organization of Securities Commission. We are also in the process of reapplying for IOSCO membership Appendix A. But even as we are not yet signatory to that, we are already of the working group that for the last 4 years have been mapping out as well as drafting the rules that will govern cross-border transaction. Now, this is an APEC Passport project, but for the moment, it only involves economies in the Asia side. So it's called APEC Asia Fund Passport. So maybe in the future, we can invite or we'll see the possibility of the economies on the other side of the Pacific maybe joining the fund.
Just a quick follow-up, sir. What exactly are the regulatory barriers across the region why we can't all join this initiative right now?
Well, there's not much. We're not really seeing any regulatory barriers. It is the usual tax issue that we are still trying to work on. We do not see that there will be a single tax system governing all of this financial cross-border transaction. Not even in Europe, where they have a European Parliament, did they pass one tax for all countries. So here it will still be a disclosure method where each economy will disclose what is the tax regime present in their jurisdiction, and it is disclosed to all the other members of the passport fund. So they know what kind of tax regime they are entering into once they go cross-border and vice versa.
Good afternoon. I'm Daphne of Business World. Chair Herbosa had said that the Philippines aims to be a full signatory to the IOSCO MMOU by mid-2015. So may we ask, what's the next target now for the MMOU of IOSCO, and what's the reason for the adjustment in schedule?
Okay, we reapplied for IOSCO membership, I think, if I'm not mistaken, early this year. We were evaluated by a validating team. The screening group had its meeting in March in Sydney of the IOSCO. There was yet no consensus about our being accepted. They were here last week, our Japanese counterparts. And the next round of evaluation for the Philippine SEC membership will be in September this year. So hopefully, if we are able to hurdle our application and membership in IOSCO, then we become eligible to join the passport by the end of this quarter. So September, and September is also the signing of the SOU during the finance ministers meeting. But the SOU, the Statement of Understanding, is just it's just a statement that it intends to participate and join the passport fund. But the actual MMOU will be towards the last quarter, maybe perhaps November or December. And then there will be a 6-month period within which all signatory economies will adjust their respective domestic laws to conform with the passport rules, and so that the actual operation of a cross-border transaction can happen perhaps in the second half of next year.
Okay, and just to clarify, are you confident that the Philippines is on track to meet its target of becoming an active participant in ARFP before the year ends?
Well, if you ask me, I accompanied our Japanese counterpart through the different government agencies last week, from the Court of Appeals to the Bangko Sentral to the AMLA, because they have all these questions about information sharing regarding bank deposits.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Yes.
Mukhang hindi tayo makakakain nito.
Okay, good afternoon, Sir Beltran and Sir Gaite. I'm Bombo Christian from Bombo Radio Philippines. We all know that Philippines and China is not in good terms because of the issue in West Philippine Sea. So how this issue affects our economic stability of the country, and how this issue affects the financial program in the country?
I don't think it's affecting our economy. We are still trading with China, and the development assistance from China continues to come to us. So I have not seen any problem deterrent to any of these territorial problems that we are now undergoing.
Okay, so even though the Philippines and China is on war, the term, sorry. So our financial institution is not affected. Okay,
No.
still stable.
Yeah.
Okay. Additional question: what is the current status of improvement of your implementation financial inclusion program here in Iloilo City?
Oh, that's we'll have to get some detailed data before we can say that.
Yes.
Because what we have is national data. There are 28 million borrowers. There are 10 million borrowers, micro borrowers in the Philippines right now. And there are 28 million lives covered by microinsurance
Okay.
for the whole country. For regional data, we still have to get that.
Okay.
We can just provide you the data later once we have it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Last 3 questions. Him first, and then you, ma'am.
Hello, Reggie Ados of ABS-CBN. May I refer my question to the Commissioner, please? Sir, is the passport just about where an investment or company can raise money, or where they can invest or put their money?
How's it again? Can you?
Is the passport just about an investment company or fund, or where can they invest their money?
Okay, this is how the passport scheme will work. Okay, I'll give an example. Say a Philippine mutual funds. Okay, right now, in the absence of the passport cross-border transaction rules, they can only operate in the Philippines. Okay, now, if our passport rules are approved and signed, say by 6 countries' economies, and a Philippine mutual fund wants to sell shares in another country, then they will have to, just like any registration statement, go to the SEC and say, we intend to sell our shares in, say, Malaysia. Okay, so then we will review it, whether it is compliant with the passport rules, and then we will give it a stamp of approval. And then they go to Malaysia, present to the SEC Malaysia our stamp of approval, and then it is distributed and retailed there in Malaysia. Okay. And vice versa. A Malaysian mutual fund will also go to their SEC, apply for a passport in another country, like the Philippines, then it goes now through the retail market here in the Philippines. So this is how the cross-border operates, cross-border transactions. So it's really movement of capital between different participating economies. So investors, say in the Philippines, will have a chance to buy Malaysian shares, and vice versa. You can say have Ayala funds being sold in Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand.
Sir, finally from my end, how will the passport boost investment in the country, especially in specific projects po?
How will it?
Boost investment in the Philippines po, especially on Philippine projects?
I guess he's saying is how can the Philippines specifically benefit from the Asian Region Funds Passport? How can the Philippines get investment from, say, from offshore through the ARFP?
Okay, if we have good financial products, or say, I will name names, okay. It's an Ayala fund, for instance. So it's very marketable even here. Then I suppose the other investors, say in Malaysia and Thailand, when they read about it, they know that it is a fund that is that the returns are good. So that way, they are able to raise funds here, and then they can invest that fund in Philippine projects. So you're able to raise capital from another jurisdiction and then invest it in Philippine projects. At the same time, it can also happen vice versa, where Filipino investors, they know of a good, say, Thai or a Singapore fund, they can also invest and buy shares there. The returns of that investment will also go back to the Philippine investor.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm Lydia Pendon of the Manila Times. Sir, this question has been bugging my mind regarding the safeguards of our government institutions insurance fund. It has been a bitter experience from the past administration regarding the usage of government insurance funds like the SSS and JSIS to fund different infrastructure projects in the past. So how have you already set up safeguards to protect these funds intended for the members of these two government insurance funds?
Oh, there's a regulatory authority, that's GCG, that handles the operations of government corporations. And both of these institutions, SSS and GSIS, have to comply with GCG standards. They get there are rules on how on how government corporations invest their money. And also they have to contend with COA, Commission on Audit. If they misspend the people's money, then they are liable to audit rules. Under this government, the good governance rules have been strengthened so that good government corporations can no longer handle funds without looking at the safety of those funds. Right now, there are rules that cover all of these things.
A last question? Okay.
Good day, sir. I would like to ask Commissioner Gaite. Well, I'm Bombo Ayan Gaite of Bombo Radio Iloilo. I would like to, you've mentioned earlier about the investment scams in the Philippines, particularly One Dream Global in Batangas. Aside from giving advisories and warning to the people, what else? What other concrete actions do we do so we can track down or close down these companies?
Okay, on the part of the SEC, aside from giving the advisories, we issue a cease and desist order once we discover them, and then we penalize them and then file the appropriate criminal case against the company and its officials. We have also liaised with local government units because the ones at the grassroots level are the first ones to know about these financial scams. So we have that tie-up. But I also really wonder, despite the many advisories, almost every week we still get reports about that, and we issue warning and advisories, and then it's still there. I do not know whether that's an indication that there's a lot of money out there, that the people have a lot of money. But yes, we do prosecute all of these financial scams.
Okay. So far, sir, how many companies have we, like this fake financial companies, have we penalized or sentenced?
I just can't give you the number right now, but several already. Well, you remember the Aman Futures last year, and then there's this Goldex that keeps on still up to now, because this Goldex, I think, is based outside of the country, and yet there are a lot of it is doing its business through the online. So it's hard to catch them and then bring them to court here because they're operating outside of our jurisdiction. But yet there are people that are victimized here. So we also relay the same information to our counterpart regulators in whatever or wherever jurisdiction they are.
And finally, sir, how does what are the direct or indirect impacts of these cases of investment scams to the economy?
Oh, definitely. It has a negative impact on the economy, especially for the ordinary household who have their savings that they end up being duped by financial scammers. So definitely it has a negative impact on the economy.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Okay, we are bringing this press conference to a close. To formally close this event, may I just ask our two speakers to give a closing statement, say what do you think are the importance of the issue of capital market development and infrastructure development for the APEC's overall agenda of sustainable and inclusive growth for the region?
Infrastructure development is key to rapid sustainable growth. We can only grow at a higher rate, 6% above, 6 to 7 to 8%, if we are able to invest adequately in infrastructure. You must have seen how growth could be stifled by lack of infrastructure. For instance, our ports can no longer ship the products of our companies. We can no longer move the cargoes in the air because there's no space for our airplanes to land. So we need to really look at infrastructure because it's very important for our growth, and it's very important in job creation, especially in the rural areas where there's very little infrastructure, but with more infrastructure, it can grow. Like for instance, in Iloilo, you have seen how that big diversion road could generate so much investment at the periphery of the road. So there's a lot of hotels going up now. It can happen to any area in the country if we can do this all throughout the country.
On the part of the Commission, we are also trying to put up the infrastructure that will allow savings to be pulled together not only here in the Philippines, not only here, but also from other economies, so that when we are able to do cross-border transactions, then we can raise capital elsewhere for the much-needed financing of the infrastructure projects.
Okay, so this ends our press conference. Thank you very much to our two speakers and to our members from the media for your active participation. And of course, thank you very much to Iloilo City for your warm hospitality.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Iloilo.